All right, let's just jump right in. We are cracking open one of the most influential documents of our time, really. Satoshi Nakamoto's 2008 paper, Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. We're going to break down piece by piece how this 9-page document basically laid out a whole new way to think about digital money.
And it all kicks off with this single sentence right from the abstract. I mean, this isn't just a technical goal, it's a massive ambition. The paper is basically trying to do for money what the internet did for information. Cut out the middlemen, let people interact directly. The question is, how on earth do you do that? Well, to really get the how, you gotta understand the why first. Nakamoto starts not with the solution, but with the problem, by digging into what the paper calls the inherent weaknesses of the trust-based model. I mean, this right here, this is a picture of our daily lives. Pretty much every time you buy something online, it's not just you and the seller. There's always a trusted third party, your bank, a credit card company, sitting right in the middle of everything, making sure it all goes smoothly. And the paper points out that this trust, it isn't free. There are hidden costs. Think about it. You've got transaction fees because these companies have to settle disputes. And because payments can be reversed, merchants get nervous and ask for way more of our personal info than they really need. A certain amount of fraud? Yeah, that's just kind of baked into the cake as a cost of doing business. So this leads to the paper's big idea. What if we could build a system where you don't need to trust anyone? A system where the security comes not from a big company's reputation, but from pure, hard math, from cryptographic proof that anyone can check for themselves. But when you get rid of that central gatekeeper, you run smack into this huge problem. It's so fundamental to the idea of digital money that it's basically the main villain of our story, the double spending dilemma. So, first things first, we've got to redefine what a coin even is here. In this world, a coin isn't just a file you can copy. As the paper lays it out, it's more like a continuous history book, a chain of digital signatures. Each owner passes it to the next by digitally signing it over, creating this unbroken, verifiable line of ownership. And that brings us right to the heart of the problem. With a physical dollar bill, this is easy, right? You can't hand the same bill to two different people at the same time. But with digital stuff, what's to stop me from sending that same coin, that same chain of signatures to Alice, and then turning right around and sending the exact same one to Bob? That's double spending. It's digital counterfeiting. Right. This is the multi-trillion-dollar question. A bank solves this problem because they have the master ledger. They see everything, and they can just say, nope, sorry, that money's already gone. But without a bank, how can Alice be sure I didn't already pay Bob? How do you prove something didn't happen? Nakamoto's answer here is, well, it's kind of brilliant in its simplicity. The only way to know for sure that a coin hasn't been spent already is to know about every single transaction. The solution isn't to hide the ledger, it's to make it completely, totally public. So in this new system, every transaction is basically shouted from the rooftops for everyone on the network to hear. But just broadcasting them into the void isn't enough. Everyone needs to agree on the order they happened in. For that, the paper suggests this idea of a peer-to-peer timestamp server to create one shared official history. So here's the play-by-play. First, the network grabs a bunch of recent transactions and bundles them into a block. Then it creates a unique digital fingerprint, a hash, of that entire block. And here's the clever part. That hash gets included in the next block, chaining them together. And that right there, that's the blockchain being born. Each new block cryptographically locks in the one that came before it. It creates this ever-growing, interlocking chain of proof. If you wanted to change a transaction way back in an old block, you'd have to change its hash, which means you'd have to change the next block, and the one after that, and on and on. It becomes practically impossible. Okay, so we have this public history. That's great. But who gets to write it? What stops me from just creating my own version of the chain where I get all my money back and just telling everyone that's the real one? This is where things get really, really clever. This is where the paper introduces its most famous idea. A way to make sure that adding to the chain is genuinely difficult, that it costs real resources. You literally have to work for it. It's called proof of work. You can think of it like a super hard math puzzle that's also a lottery. To get the right to add the next block, all these computers on the network are racing to find the solution. It's incredibly hard to find the winning number, but once someone finds it, it's super easy for everyone else to look at it and say, yep, that's the one. What this does is pretty amazing. It basically turns the whole thing into a vote, but instead of ballots, you're using computer power. One CPU, one vote. So how does everyone agree on the official history? It's simple. The longest chain wins. Why? Because the longest chain is the one that has the most computational work, the most proof of work poured into it. And the paper actually runs the numbers on this, and it's pretty wild. It shows that for an attacker to try and create a fake chain to fool everyone, they'd have to outrace the entire rest of the honest network combined. As you can see from this table, their chances of catching up shrink exponentially with every new block that gets added. It quickly becomes a fool's errand.
All right, so we've got this secure, decentralized system. It works. But there's one last huge question. Why would anyone bother to fire up their computer, burn all that electricity, and participate in this crazy lottery to help secure the network?
The system needed a reward, and the paper cooked up two really smart ones. First, whoever solves the puzzle and creates the next block gets rewarded with brand new coins that are created out of thin air. This is how new money gets into the system in the first place. The paper calls them miners, like gold miners spending resources to get new gold. Second, you can also include little transaction fees to sweeten the pot and encourage miners to include your payment quickly. And that really gets us to the heart of the security model for this whole thing. It's built on a simple economic idea that the good guys will always have more computing power than the bad guys, simply because it's more profitable to play by the rules and earn the rewards than it is to try and attack the system. So when you put it all together, it's like this perfect recipe. You start with digital signatures for ownership, you add a public ledger, the blockchain, so everyone sees everything, you secure it with proof of work, that computational puzzle, and you power the whole thing with built-in rewards. And voila, you have a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. And that leaves us with this final, really powerful question. Yeah, the paper was about digital cash, but the system it designed, it's about something so much bigger. It's a blueprint for getting a group of people who don't know or trust each other to agree on something. And it makes you wonder, what else can we build? What else is possible when we no longer have to rely on trust? That's a question we're all still trying to figure out today.